This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
I am Radhika Iyer. Today, as a journalist covering Jayalalitha's manifesto, I thought to myself, it is almost like an auction of sorts. If Karunanidhi promises 1 rupee rice a kg, then Jayalalitha promises 20 kgs of free rice. If Kalaignar promises mixies and grinders, Amma promises mixies, grinders and electric fans. The manifestos are of the freebies, and as voters, one would be excited to know what's in store probably. But then, would the farmer in Thanjavur have been happy to be told that his income will be consistent and that there is no reason to be insecure? Would a senior citizen have been happier to hear that he can be assured of safety while walking on the streets of Madras rather than be given a bus pass? Would a student have been happier to hear that he need not pay capitation fees for engineering courses and can receive quality education at nominal rates instead of a laptop? Is Tamil Nadu forgetting to vote for development in the lure of freebies? That's the question you and I ask each other and to ourselves before casting our vote this election. Joining us on this special edition is Mr. Cho Ramaswamy, editor of Tughlaq magazine, Mr. Shanmugam Velayudham, he is the professor of social work from Loyola College. Also joining us on the phone line will be Mr. Venkatesh Athreya, renowned economist. As we do a post-mortem of the two manifestos today, there is also a big match underway, the biggest match perhaps in the World Cup so far. India is chasing a total of 261. Sehwag is out for now, but then joining us is Natasha Doraiswamy, my colleague who understands sports better than I do, who will obviously tell us what the match looks like at this stage, which way it will swing and who the man of the moment is. But first, the headlines. Jayalalitha turns the temple town of Srirangam green, announces manifesto, promises free laptop, mixie, grinder, cows, gold, bus pass and more. Is the state heading to bankruptcy with each outdoing the other's manifesto full of free gifts? Are we forgetting to vote for development? Karunanidhi doesn't go green over Jayalalitha's party colour or manifesto, says he's not worried and says he's happy if she keeps promises. Jayalalitha files her nomination today. Her assets would have doubled since the last election. The Chief Minister's income is far less compared to his two wives, and like son, the CM has declared he doesn't own a car. The Congress is in the state of Splitsvilla. Will the Congress upset its own chances this election? A comedian takes on a hero and how? Vadivel attacks Vijaykanth and the captain gives a fitting reply with a punch dialogue. The spinners have done their job. Now it's India's batsmen's turn to lead India to victory. And IPL fans get lathi charged today during ticket sales for the first IPL match season 4 in Chennai. Here's a quick wrap of what the national headlines are. While the government says a probe is on in the cash for vote scandal, a BJP MP who was a key player says no one questioned him so far. Former BJP leader Sudhindra Kulkarni tells NDTV that the cash for vote sting was conducted at the behest of his top leadership. An RTI reply to NDTV shows how Suresh Kalmadi plays a direct role in causing a 10 crore rupees loss. A top Congress leader from Bihar, Pandey, is raided by the Enforcement Directorate in the Hassan Ali case. And two women in a village in Haryana take on the Khap Panchayat, which has condoned gruesome murders of the loved ones. While the ruling DMK labelled its election manifesto as the heroine of the 13th of April polls, another heroine has joined the fray with much more promises of freebies. The main opposition, AIADMK, has gone a step further than its arch-rival DMK, which promises of freebies and much more than just the manifesto of the DMK, if voted to power. Peer Mohammed reports from Trichy.
Two heroines vying for one hero has often been the norm in Tamil films. Now it has come to politics as well. The DMK's manifesto promised either a mixie or a grinder for all women. AIADMK Supremo Jayalalitha has now said that her party would give women an electric fan, a mixie and a grinder if she is elected to power.
திருமண உதவித்தொகை 50,000 ரூபாய் மற்றும் 4 கிராம் தங்கம் திருமாங்கல்யம் செய்ய இலவசமாக வழங்கப்படும். தாய்மார்களுக்கு ஒரு காற்றாடி, ஃபேன், ஒரு மிக்ஸி, ஒரு கிரைண்டர் ஆகிய 3 பொருட்கள் இலவசமாக வழங்கப்படும்.
If the DMK offered free laptops to college students, the Queen Bee has said she would give free laptops to +2 students and students of government colleges as well. While the DMK offered free bus passes to the elderly, the AIADMK's manifesto has promised free homes for the elderly, the destitute and orphans with 3 meals as well. Its offer of 60,000 cows for 6,000 villages to increase milk production is aimed at the rural voter.
The impact of the offer of free color television sets by the DMK was felt among the rural electorate in the 2006 assembly elections. The AIADMK has taken a cue from that. While the AIADMK is banging upon the 2G spectrum scam to connect with the urban voter, it depends on the freebies to connect with the rural voters. In Tiruchi, Peer Mohammed, NDTV-Hindu.
Peer Mohammed will be tracking Jayalalitha's trail of campaign for a few days more. The election manifesto, it is populism at its best or worst, depending upon your point of view. Gadgets galore are being showered on voters regardless of their economic background, including mixies, grinders and laptops. Travel is practically free for senior citizens on public transport. The below poverty line families are also being wooed like never before, with promises of free housing, while the rural voter is promised everything from streetlights to goats to cows. When did the line between welfare schemes and good governance blur and bleed into populism? Of course, these are at this stage only promises which have to be met if either of the parties come to power. But going back to our question on whether it is freebies versus development, we'll give you an instance of numbers which of course give us a better picture. The massive SOPs announced by the ruling party in the last 5 years have cost the exchequer a whopping 12 crore rupees. Just the flagship freebie of colour television sets has cost the state 4,000 crore rupees so far. There was a correction, actually it was 12,000 crore rupees, which was something that the state exchequer became poorer by. Joining me live, Mr. Cho Ramaswamy, who is the editor of Tughlaq magazine. Thank you very much, sir. Good evening to you. Is the freebie better than development? You tell us. You have been following Tamil Nadu politics for a while now. What should the voter look for? That is the first very question. And also, having worked and having covered Jayalalitha for several years in your magazine itself, would you think that it was a conscious attempt by her to outdo Mr. Karunanidhi in the election manifesto?
Well, assuring free things to the people has become inevitable in this state after what the DMK has been doing. Every party has to assure something, otherwise the people may be terribly disappointed. While I would not say that this is the right thing for any political party, but it has become the practice in the state and everyone has to make a promise. The people expect it.
Okay, is the aim of this manifesto, Mr. Cho, mainly to woo the woman voter in the state of Tamil Nadu? We've seen mixies and grinders being given to them, some perhaps even saying that washing machines will be given. So is the target really the woman voter?
I don't see it like that. I think her manifesto appeals to every section. Laptops have been promised and old age homes have been promised, and also certain things for the children. I think every segment of society has been promised something or not. I mean by every segment, the below poverty line people, the males, the female, children, everybody has been promised. The old age people, the bus fare concessions, passes and other things. I've been
An
promised
indication,
by
isn't
her.
it, Mr. Cho?
So
That's
I don't
perhaps an
think
indication, isn't it?
May specifically meant to appeal to ladies alone. After all, a fan in a house will be used both by the ladies and the men, and the grinder and mixie, though the ladies may use it, the ultimate beneficiary is the man. So, right. It must appeal to all of them.
Right, Mr. Cho, perhaps men have even a bigger appetite than women do, but to call the manifesto itself a heroine and to give a gender to a manifesto, isn't that an indication?
That has been the general assessment about the voters in Tamil Nadu always. But it does not work out like that. It is not as if the women in the house vote differently from the men. Mostly if you go to rural side, the women will say, we will go to any vote for that person whom the male members of the family indicate. That is the kind of choice they have. They usually go by the decision of the males in the family. I don't think there is a right to feel that this is done by women, this is done for women. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you for that perspective, Mr. Cho, but I request you to hold on to us, and I have a couple of more pertinent questions to ask you, before which let's go across to Mr. Venkatesh Athreya. He's a renowned economist. Incidentally, he is at the moment in Trichy, where Jayalalitha has released that manifesto. Mr. Athreya, thank you very much. Good evening. Radhika Iyer this side. My first question to you, is it getting from bad to worse in Tamil Nadu? When I had a colleague come over to office visiting me today. She of course belongs to Mumbai, but then has been living in Chennai for the last several years. But she asked me, aren't freebies almost like bribing voters?
Well, the term freebies is being applied pejoratively in this discussion. I understand where that's coming from, and I understand that one would expect a great deal more from a manifesto for an election than just announcements of certain concessions. But I think it's important to recognize that over the last several years, both state governments and the central government have been giving a lot of freebies to the corporate sector by way of huge tax concessions, exemptions of various kinds, so-called stimulus and so on. And in no case have we carried out any kind of software audit to see if those concessions have resulted in significant gains in terms of employment, productivity, or national well-being. So I think it's a bit one-sided only to call this freebies and call that by a better name called incentives. Having said that, I would also expect a manifesto to focus on policies pursued by the government when in office, their strategy for the coming period in terms of development, and within that framework talk about whatever social protection measures they want to take. In a system where there is no social security for the unorganized mass of the population, what you're calling freebies has some appeal, obviously. But at the end of the day, I think a broader fiscal picture of where resources are coming from and who are getting the benefits of government intervention is essential to put this whole thing in perspective, and not just some kind of
Mr. Athreya, let me interrupt you at this stage, since you're saying that the manifesto could have perhaps focused more on let's say policy making, etc. One of the first questions that I had asked as a voter to myself, and of course asked our viewers by and large who are watching the show live, was whether a student would have been happier to hear that instead of a laptop he would get quality education for a nominal price. He wouldn't have to bow down by the capitation fee pressure that Tamil Nadu is reeling under. Whether a senior citizen would have been happier to hear that he could walk safely on the streets of Chennai, and of course the state, the crime rate coming down, whether poverty would come down. These of course seem like phrases which we've always been hearing. But ironically, although 50% of, let me state a figure at this stage, studies show that although 50% of the state of Tamil Nadu, the population consume rice which is being sold at 1 rupee a kg, most of these families haven't actually risen above the below poverty line. What would you look for as a viewer? Would you think that the freebie pattern is only becoming more of treating a symptom more than a disease itself?
As an economist, I would say that one must look at where government is raising resources from and who it is gifting them to. And if you look at the overall pattern, why are we not willing to say that huge tax concessions are also freebies, first of all? Having said that, I completely agree with you that one could ask for a more nuanced presentation in a manifesto of policies and priorities. It's certainly true that we need safe roads to walk on. It's certainly true we need better law and order, we need lower crime rates and so on. And therefore, all those points are well taken. But providing, for example, old age assistance in a systematic way is not necessarily wrong. I mean, I think what one has to ask is,
Okay.
overall, what is the fiscal framework within which this is being done, and not simply dismiss this as freebies while remaining silent on huge concessions that the same regime has given to the corporate sector over the years, where it has, come down on democratic rights of workers and industries. It has upheld the rights of corporates entirely, inclusively. Why are we not focusing on those issues?
Right. Right, completely agree with you. A renowned economist there raising those pertinent questions and taking a cue from there really. Let's go back to Mr. Cho Ramaswamy. Would you think and would you agree, Mr. Cho, that the state is headed for bankruptcy at this stage?
Well, you see, people have been getting certain things free or at least subsidized for quite a long time. And even in Western countries, there has been unemployment, though many countries are regretting it now. Well, it has been the trend everywhere. But here, because of poverty, whenever something is promised, the people feel fascinated and thrilled. I don't think it is the right thing for any political party or government to do, but still one has to reckon with the practical situation that is existing here, that the people expect it. A political party cannot expect to survive without acting up to the people's expectations.
Right. Mr. Cho saying that a political party perhaps has to come under pressure and cannot act against what people of the state expect. Let me bring in Mr. Shanmuga Velayudham. He's a professor of social work from Loyola College. Thank you very much, Mr. Velayudham, for joining us this evening. You join us from our Hindu studios. You've been working on the department and this entire gamut called social work, which most relevantly requires your opinion at this stage. We are asking what the voter should look for. The freebies not necessarily leading to development, or should they keep in mind what exactly the state of Tamil Nadu looks for, which is development?
Actually, voters are all what they want is they want to eradicate the poverty, overall development of the people. That's a voters thing. What happened, the freebies are all like a myth. See, if you go through it, how the money diversion from the freebies, really the infrastructure money, they are diverted to freebies. Last CAG report says regarding this, for the rural development ministry, that money devoted for the infrastructure development like a road, water supply and other thing, they are diverted to the free TV scheme. So really what happened, we should concentrate on how to catch, train the people to how to catch the fish rather than giving fish. Here, by giving freebies, only we are having the dependency syndrome, we will enhance it. People always having more and more freebies they expected, but that's not good for the government. Now, you should also think about how the money derived from the freebies. Now, mostly from the Tasmac liquor shop is coming from the money. One side you are robbing the poor and giving for the poor. It is not really enhancing the lifestyle of the living conditions of poor. Right. Really, if you want to concentrate the poor, we should give education, health sector, infrastructure development, then really it will improve the living and working conditions of people. Right. That's the way we should do it.
That's perhaps something, Mr. Velayudham, that the intelligent and the thoughtful voter would look for, whether this leads to development in infrastructure, whether his own money as a taxpayer is actually being given back, not as harshly as I would put it as bribe, but perhaps being used to really lure voters. Let me get one last question from Mr. Cho Ramaswamy, an answer that I'm looking for at this stage, Mr. Cho Ramaswamy. We've done almost a post-mortem of the two manifestos. They look almost alike, except that the opposition has given cows and goats and perhaps an electric fan a little more than the DMK, but the DMK again saying that we will do more than what the manifesto says. So the race really and the marathon really still on. What do you think will change the game of elections? Is it the manifesto, or do you think alliance will change the game?
No, the fact will be that the opposition vote, which was badly split earlier, will now not be split that way because of the alliance between the DMDK and ADMK. There will be no split in the opposition vote, and that will help the opposition mainly. And also the price rise, the family imposition of the family on the state, all these things may work against the DMK. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Cho Ramaswamy, for joining us tonight. My last question to Professor Velayudham, your closing thoughts. What do you think is unprecedented at this stage? We've seen color in Tamil Nadu like no state can possibly see. But is it getting back to worse, this pattern of freebies? And you as a voter, what would you be looking for in a manifesto? Is it policy changes? Is it development? Or are you, honestly tell us, are you also attracted by the freebies being a professor of social work?
Really, we are downgrading, and also what happened, it is like a freebies war. One party vies against another, giving more and more dole rooms, this type of charity based thing. Really, it may not help for Tamil Nadu state people and also voters. Really, government and political parties, they should have a visionary point of view regarding what way we have to improve the state. Really, the infrastructure development, they have to create a lot of employment opportunities. What we need is a quality education, not for free laptop, free computer, laptop and other things. These are all not needed at all. What they need, what is a quality education for the people. As on date, if you think about CBSE pattern of education and state board of education, CBSE per student, government of India, they spend a lot of money. On the other hand, Tamil Nadu government, they spend very poor politician. So definitely the quality is gone down. We have to improve the education, Anganwadi, health system, electricity. Then really you can have the employment. Automatically the purchasing power will improve it.
True.
Automatically they can purchase all the wet grinder, all other things they can purchase. It's not a government should do it. It is like cheating the people. That's my personal thing. It's like a bribe.
Right, right. Thank you very much. What many couldn't say, you have said it bravely. It's almost like a bribe for a voter. You vote for me and I'll give you a mixie free.
Yes.
However, perhaps the possibilities of giving better education, better quality of life would perhaps be something that the voter is really seeking for. That's all we have time for on this very discussion. We'll take a quick break. But let me also tell you that there's breaking news coming in. Dr. Dekal, the person who conducted the post-mortem upon the former Union Telecom Minister's aide Sadiq Basha, was choosing politics, and now after the government has rejected his resignation, he's come out strongly and said that he wants to contest elections. So it seems that Dr. Dekal now wants to play politics after having done that high-profile post-mortem. More on that after this little break.